Hi everyone, my name is Katja, I'm CatColouring, and a warm welcome to my channel. Today's video marks a milestone here on my channel. First and foremost, this is video number 200 I have made. Second of all, yesterday I reached 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much, all of you, for subscribing to my channel. It means the world to me. I really appreciate that you are following along here on my coloring journey, participating in it, and helping me run my channel. So this means that soon I will have a giveaway on my channel. There will be another video about that. Well, today's video is a translated flip through of this new Japanese coloring book I bought a little while ago. If you saw my autumn art haul, you will know that I presented 5 new Japanese coloring books, and this was one of them, and this is a mandala coloring book. I have actually looked up the word mandala in dictionaries and search how to pronounce it, because a lot of people say mandala, but in Danish we actually say it and pronounce it mandala with a pressure on the first syllable. I also found a place where they had recorded it in English, and he also put the pressure on the first syllable. So that's what I do. If you put pressure on one of the other syllables in the word, that's completely fine. I just say mandala, because that's how I pronounce it, both in Danish and in English. So this coloring book is a Japanese coloring book, and it's filled with mandalas. And there is a lot of text in Japanese, and I have translated it. So I think that we should just get started. But before I begin, pause the video, take your time, get yourself a nice cup of tea or a cup of coffee if you want that, or a glass of water, and then sit back and relax and enjoy this flip through of the coloring book here. So let's begin. So this coloring book is called Mandala to Calm Your Mind or Prepare Your Mind, depending on how you translate it. And it also says beautiful or gorgeous romantic flowers. And here it says adult, and here art coloring book. And down here, this is the 4th part of MDN's new adult coloring series. Colorful flowers from the seasons made into mandala art. And here it says it gives a relaxing effect to calm the autonomous nervous system. And that's something about mandalas, because they are these circular motifs, and you can color them inside out or outside in. But when you color them, it helps calm down nerves and brings your nervous system in balance. I have actually used these in when I have taught children and young adults when they had ADHD, for example. It's very good to either begin drawing them or to color them, because it helps give them a focus instead of them being all over the place. So I have used these with success through many years when I have taught children with ADHD. So I can really recommend mandalas. And it also says that the illustrator is Oji Kaori. Hope I'm pronouncing that correct. And then we go into the coloring book here. You can see here that some of the other books in this series, they have some with I think it's from Tokyo, and they have different sort of patterns, and also from different kinds of cities and historical periods. And it basically says the same here, MDN Corporation. So this is the company behind this coloring book. And then we have some sort of a, they are very broad, these sides. I think I will take one page at a time. You have the contents page here. So you can see I'm sorry, my dog just wants to really snuggle before he begins snoring. So we can see here we have an introduction to articles. We have a page with basic techniques. we have a page, it was a bit difficult to translate, but it did say how to color with a different, using different techniques. I think it's examples of how it looks when you color with different techniques. And then we have a color test page. And then the contents of all of these pages here with the flowers. And you can see we have 2 page numbers because the first part of the book, the drawings are colored. And then the second page is for you to color them. So it's a bit special, this book. But anyways, here it says Art Supplies Introduction. And it says, beautiful flowers are characterized by their vivid colors, warmth, and delicate hues. Colored pencils, oil-based and water-based, each have their own characteristics, so try to find the one that suits your taste. Copies and crayons also work well here in this book. So they actually recommend 2 kinds of mediums, oil-based pencils and watercolor pencils, perhaps even watercolors, but let me get back to watercolors. Here it says with oil-based pencils here, there are those with hard cores that feel like crayons and those with soft cores that feel like oil pastels. The harder ones make it easier to draw lines, while the softer ones make it easier to paint over surfaces. And we can see here an oil-based pencil with a hard core, you can see the lines, and then with a softer core. So based on this, I would say that the new Charisma colors from Japan, they are oil-based. You could use them in this book. You could also use Faber-Castell Polychromas. They have a bit harder tip, but they should also work really nicely on this paper. I think I can almost guarantee it actually, because soon we will get to the actual paper in this book. It's amazing. And it says oil-based, and I am just wondering if you could use oil pastels, at least for the backgrounds, not for the small details. There are a lot of beautiful details on these drawings, but perhaps for some backgrounds on some of the pages, I am just wondering. Perhaps it could actually work. And then it says down here, watercolor pencils. These are water-soluble colored pencils. Well, we all know that. If you use a water-soaked brush to trace over something, it'll look like you're using watercolor paint. I am just wondering if you can't just use watercolor paint. I will certainly actually try it with one of the pages in here, because the paper is amazing. And it also just warns you, if you use too much water on the brush, it'll cause the paint to bleed or smudge, so use it moderately. So a little warning here. You can see here with these 2 watercolor pencils, you can see here used with water that it really dissolves quite well here. And you have to be careful not to put too much water on it, or else it will look not that good. Okay, so the next page here is basic techniques. And it says, by combining several techniques, you can create depth and dimension in the colors and express the luster and soft atmosphere of the flowers. And here we have 4 or actually 5 basic techniques. Flat coating. So, flat coating. Lay the colored pencil flat and, well, it says paint, but you know, they mean color. So lay the color pencil down flat here and just color. If you color after outlining, you don't have to go over the edge. But if you make the edge too dark, it will give a childish impression. So to the edge and not quite over the edge here. First, paint broadly without going over the edge, then carefully paint the edges with the same amount of pressure to get a nice finish. By applying flat coats multiple times, you can create a single color gradation. So this was the first technique, flat coating. Then over here we have hatching. Using colored pencils, drawing parallel lines over and over again. This technique can be used to express shadows or texture, and we can clearly see it here with these lines over each other, over and over again. And this does create both texture and some shadow here. Cross-hatching is when lines are crossed over and overlapped. The more lines you overlap, the more solid effect it will be. By layering vertical, horizontally, and diagonal lines, you can create the texture of petals and leaves. So this is actually quite a nice advice here when we are dealing with so many petals and leaves as there are in this book. Then we have a layering technique down here. And it says, if you want to add depth or shadow to your coloring, apply multiple layers. You can apply only the same color, but if you apply multiple colors of the same family, you know, the same color family, it'll create a natural depth and dimension. You can see it here. So you have used a darker blue here and then a lighter blue to create some depth in the middle of the flowers, and then it turns lighter toward the edge of the petals here. If you're using multiple colors, it's easier to adjust the colors by gradually applying a darker color over a lighter color. So they actually recommend that you use the lighter colors first and then the darker colors to cover the lighter colors. After applying a light color thinly, layer the colors to create a gradation. And then we have the final technique down here, blur and erase. So it's, well, sort of two techniques. And it says Pukashi or blur is a technique suited to soft core colored pencils, like the Prismacolors, for example. After applying a flat coat, which we did up here, then rub the surface here with a tissue or a cotton swab. So if you just want to blur it, then you can use this tissue or cotton swab. Then erasing. Erasing is ideal for expressing clouds and light. A regular eraser leaves a sharp erased mark. So if you really want it to be sharp, use a normal eraser. But a netted eraser leaves a softer erased mark. So you can also use these netted erasers. I have a piece of it here. This is a netted eraser. And here we have a normal eraser. So this one should actually soften the edges much more than the other. If you erase by moving the eraser around in a circular motion, the edges will blur naturally. So you can also use the eraser to make it blur. And here we have paint with different touches or colors here. It says, even if you use the same coloring book, changing the way you color can make it a completely different piece of work. Color powerfully and roughly, or concentrate on detailed work to create a piece that reflects your individuality. So these Japanese coloring books are filled with little advice like this. I really, really love it. And here it says, in a bright and gentle atmosphere. You can see an example of this here. And then they have zoomed in on this flower, and it says, the overall color scheme is soft, emphasizing the gentleness of the flowers. And you can see here we have lots and lots and lots of highlights here in this drawing, and not that much color. Here they zoom in on the leaves, and it says, express shadows of details depth by paying attention to the shadows of flowers and leaves. And you can clearly see that these leaves, they do have some shadows here, and also some texture, I would say. And then you can see the final piece here, adding variation with color shading. They have zoomed in on this flower, and it says, flowers and leaves are painted in dark layers to create variety or variety here. So different examples of what they have just said on the other page. And now here, color swatch book. You don't need dozens of different colors. You can mix almost any color you want. The tone of the color changes not only I can't read what I have written. The tone of the color changes not only depending on the color combination, but also on the strength of your writing pressure. So, as we all know, it depends on the pressure. So you can see here with a single color gradation, you have shading is achieved by varying the pressure of the pencil. So light pressure and harder and harder and harder pressure, both with the red and the blue and the yellow here. So here we have example of mixing two colors. By layering light and dark colors, you can add depth and variety to the color. So you can, when you want to add nuance to the red color, you can add some yellow. We get this orange gradation here you can use with strawberries. If you want to add nuance to the blue color, you can add a lighter blue color, and you can get this gradation you can use for the peacock. And when you want to add nuance to the pink color, you can add some more red, and you get this reddish pinkish color, both pink and reddish here, but not deep red. And then we look at the colored drawings here, and it says Peace of Mind Flower Mandala Collection of Works. And the first page here is ranunculus and rosemary flowers. You can see here the rosemary and then ranunculus surrounding it. And on the other page we have the peacock and peonies. Then we have cherry blossoms, and we have delphinium. There's a very interesting story about this flower. So these the papers on these printed pages here is well, normal. It's not very thick, but it's also printed, and you don't have to color on these. So it's a nice smooth, actually not that coarse, but rather smooth paper here. Then we have hydrangea and rose, of course. And then we have morning glory, and we have some goldfish. We have lotus flowers and tropical fruits and hibiscus and lily. We have an arabesque and flowers and dahlias and moonflower. Very, very interesting story with this. We will hear that later. Lily of the valley and Europe's daisy. Never heard of that flower, but it looks really nice. Cosmos. I know these. I've had them in my garden. Cyclamen. Chamelia. And strawberries, flowers and bees. And then Christmas rose for the final drawing. And this black page, it says Peace of Mind Flower Mandala Coloring Book Collection. Mandala is a Sanskrit word meaning circle, ring, and relationship with the center. It is also a visual and symbolic representation of sacred space, the state of enlightenment of the Buddha, and the worldview using Buddhist statues, symbols, and letters. Enjoy the beauty of flowers and the mysterious atmosphere of the mandala through coloring. And now the paper changes, because, as I said before, these printed pages here, they're just, you know, smooth and it's nice printed. But this page, now we begin with the really thick paper here. I have here, this is actually a body color I did here in September, and I printed this on cardboard. Or I think you're calling it cardstock in America. So it's really thick. This paper here is 90% as thick as a cardstock. I think it only lacks 10% to be actual cardstock. So it's really thick and nice, and that's why I do think that you can actually use watercolor paint without problems. Well, not, you know, excessive amounts of water, but you can use it on this paper. And each page here with the flowers, it's divided, so you have a page where you get the story behind the motif, the flowers, and then a page with the flowers. So it doesn't matter if you do bleed through, because you can see there's not a motif on the other page. And here you can see, actually, if I take it to the camera, you can see here, you can actually cut this page from the book with your scissors and then frame it and hang it or give it to someone as a present if you want to. So you don't have to have them all in the book. Well, it's a very wide book here, so I will tell you the story and then we can look at the drawing here. So the first drawing here is ranunculus and rosemary. And it says the surprising etymology behind this lovely flower, the ranunculus. And then here in Japanese. It just says a lot about the flower and the story behind this sort of flower or flowers that we find in the drawings. And it says, ranunculus is a perennial plant that comes in a variety of colors, including yellow, white, and pink, and has a gorgeous appearance with thin overlapping petals. The name ranunculus comes from the Latin word rana, which means frog. This is because many types of ranunculus prefer moist soil. I actually didn't know this because I don't have ranunculus in my garden. Rosemary is used for a wide range of purposes, including cooking, beauty, fragrance, and medicine. It is also said to have a mystical power to protect against evil, and in Europe, twigs of it were placed on coffins at funerals and woven into brides' crowns. So I do think it's really, really nice to have all of these information before you begin looking at this beautiful drawing and before you begin coloring it. I really like stories behind drawings. As you may know when you have watched my channel for quite a while, I really like coloring books with stories behind them, like Emilie Lidehild Uber's Fairy Tales and Folklore and Aries coloring books. Okay, so number 2 is Peony and Peacock. And it says traditional Japanese flowers and a bird that symbolize beauty. And then it says both peonies and peacocks are symbols of beauty and are familiar to the Japanese. The beautiful feathers of male peacocks can only be seen during the breeding season from spring to summer, and they fall off after the breeding season is over. Oh my, I actually didn't know that they lost these beautiful tail feathers when the breeding season was over. But now I certainly know that. And then it says, in fact, these magnificent ornamental feathers can only be seen for a short period of time. Peony has been used as a design for various crafts and paintings since ancient times, and is also a flower that is likened to the appearance and behavior of a beautiful woman, as in, and then comes some, I think it's some sort of Japanese proverb, standing like a peony, sitting like a peony, walking like a lily flower. So it's apparently some Japanese proverb about beautiful women. And then we can see the drawing here in all of its beauty. And can't wait to color this peacock and all of these beautiful feathers. And peonies are actually one of my top favorite flowers. I really, really love peonies. And I also have them in my garden. So number 3. Cherry blossoms and birds, the national flower that has long been loved by the Japanese people. And then it says cherry blossoms and birds. And it says, for the Japanese, the blooming of cherry blossoms symbolizes the arrival of spring. The Japanese have a long history of loving cherry blossoms, and they have been favored by aristocrats since the Heian period. And then I researched, and the Heian period is from 794 to 1185 AD. So it's back in the period we would call the Middle Ages in Europe, at least. The name Sakura is a general term for the genus Prunus, which includes 15 wild species and over 300 national cultivars. Oh, that's a lot of different sort of cherry flowers. There are also many different types of cherry blossoms in kimono patterns, ranging from cherry blossoms blooming on branches to Sakuragawa, river of cherry blossoms that combines flowing water with cherry blossoms. It is clear that cherry blossoms are a familiar plant to the Japanese. And here we have the motif itself. So, so beautiful. And then these 2 little birds here. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Number 4. It's Delphinium. Surprising names given to flowers based on how they bloom. Okay, let's learn something about that. The flower's meaning is clear and bright. It is said to derive its name from the texture of the softly overlapping petals and the refreshing color of the flowers. The name Delphinium comes from the Greek word delphinos, meaning dolphin, as the shape of the buds resembles a dolphin. I am just looking and I think it's this sort of, the blooming flowers and then this sort of tail here. You can see here, sort of a dolphin. And then it smooths down into the tail. Yeah, I can see it. The Japanese name is Ohiensu, which resembles a swallow flying in the sky. All of the names are derived from the way the flowers bloom, and it's very interesting to see how the flowers are perceived differently depending on the country. So the Greek called them dolphin, and the Japanese Ohiensu, like a swallow, flying swallow. Interesting. Beautiful flowers. And number 5, one of my personal favorite flowers, Hydrangea. Hydrangeas are beautiful as they change into various colors. When thinking of flowers that bloom during the rainy season, many people probably think of hydrangeas. In fact, what we think of as a flower is not the petals, but the sepals. The small flowers inside the sepals are the real flowers. Hydrangeas have been familiar in Japan for a long time and are also known as 7 changes. This is because hydrangeas start out pale green, then white, and finally blue, and the color gradually changes. A lot of the blue hydrangeas also have tones of purple and light and white and so on. So 7 changes must be the 7 colors they change into during their blooming. The color also changes depending on whether the soil is acidic or alkaline. The name 7 changes is a perfect fit for hydrangeas. And here we can see them. I went to the Azores, which is an island group belonging to Portugal, out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean here last year, and it was absolutely amazing. Along all of the road there were huge bushes, really bushes filled with blue hydrangeas, and they were several meters tall. There were so many flowers. Sometimes it was like you were driving into a tunnel of hydrangeas, all blue. It was so beautiful. I really recommend the Azores. Absolutely amazing experience to be there. Well, further on, number 6, the queen of flowers, the rose, whose thorns have their own meaning. And then it just says rose. There are many different varieties of roses, and they are loved by people all over the world. They can truly be called the queen of flowers. Roses have flower meanings for their colors, number, thorns, buds, and branches. Thorns are said to represent blessing in misfortune, buds for confession of love, and branches for your discomfort annoys me. There is also a global organization of rose lovers called the World Federation of Rose Societies, which is made up of members from around 40 countries around the world, which shows that roses are loved all over the world. And with the colors, a red rose, I love you, and a yellow rose means that I think that you have been cheating on me, or I am envious of you. So it's true, there are so many symbolic meanings when it comes to roses. And a white rose, you are so innocent and pure. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So see, it's like sun rays here behind the rose. Isn't it also a symbol of the Virgin Mary or something? Well, number 7, morning glory and goldfish. Surprising flowers brought to Japan as a medicinal plant. Wow, I think we're going to learn something new here about morning glory. Many people have probably kept a diary of morning glory observations during summer vacation. Each color has its own flower meaning. Blue means short love, and purple means calmness. Morning glories have been loved since ancient times, but they were not originally a flower that existed in Japan. Morning glories are flowers that were introduced from China during the Nara period, and the Nara period is from 710 to 794 AD. So also in the period we would call the Middle Ages in Europe. or the Viking Age, Iron Age / Viking Age in Denmark. They were brought to Japan not for decorative purposes, but for medicinal purposes. The seeds have a laxative effect and have been used as a medicinal herb. I didn't know that, but now I certainly do. And then we have this absolutely gorgeous drawing of the Morning Glory. I love them. And 2 goldfishes here. Beautiful. Number 8. Lotus, a symbol of wisdom and compassion, also depicted in esoteric Buddhist mandalas. Lotus flowers have been in Japan since ancient times, and it's said that lotus viewing ceremonies were held during the Nara period, which we remember was from 710 to 794 AD. Lotus flowers have a special connection with Buddhism and esoteric Buddhism and are said to bloom in the Pure Land. The fact that the lotus produces beautiful flowers from muddy water is considered a symbol of the wisdom and mercy of the Buddha, and in esoteric Buddhism, lotuses are depicted in 2 types of mandalas introduced by Kukai. At the Nakadai Hachiwin temple, sorry for the pronunciation, located at the center of the famous Taika mandala Dainichi Nyo... Oh my god, these words. Dainichi Nyorai is depicted in the center of a lotus flower, with various Buddhas depicted around him. So apparently these lotus flowers have a very strong connection with Buddhism, and they are also depicted with a lot of different types of Buddhas. I'm not a Buddhist, so I don't know that much about Buddhism. But I do know that they have Buddha statues and temples and so on. And here we have the lotus flower, which was actually also important in ancient Egypt, and is also depicted on a lot of graves from Egypt, both from temples and pyramids and graves from the New Kingdom in the Valley of the Kings and the Valley of the Queens. Okay, so number 9, tropical fruits and hibiscus, a symbol of beauty with around 10,000 varieties in the world. Wow. Okay, so hibiscus is attractive for its bright primary colors such as red, yellow, pink, white, and orange. It's also a plant called a one-day flower because it blooms and withers on the same day. Although the flower's lifespan is short, it continues to produce new buds and bloom. There are various theories around the origin of the name hibiscus, but it's said to come from Hibis, the Egyptian goddess of beauty, and to have been combined with isko, which means to resemble in Greek, to create the name hibiscus. As its origin suggests, it is a beautiful flower. And here we have it, also one of my favorite flowers. I really like hibiscus. I don't like hibiscus tea. I think it's weird and tastes really weird and gets really red, but I like the flowers very much, and the leaves also here. And then we have pineapples here. Very tropical themed mandala, I can say here. Okay, so number 10, lily, my top favorite flower. A flower symbolizing purity and beauty that is loved around the world. Lilies are flowers that have often appeared in the Bible. In Christianity in particular, the white lilies are a symbol of purity and represents the Virgin Mary. In France, the flower language of white lilies means innocence, purity, chastity, and nobility in reference to the Virgin Mary. Meanwhile, in Japan, like peonies, lilies have long been known as plants that symbolize beautiful women. There are various theories about the origin of the name lily. It's said that it comes from the fact that large flowers bloom on thin stems and sway when the wind blows. So I really like lilies, but and you can see here earlier on in the book they were white here, but I have to say that white lilies are mainly used in Denmark for funerals. It's a very, very used flower for funerals. So I really, when I look at white lilies, I think of funerals and death, and they are not my favorite lilies. My favorite lilies are the ones that are white and sort of pinkish with spots, or red or orange or yellow. So the more colorful lilies. I really like those, I have to say. So I think that I will be coloring these lilies very colorful and bright in the colors, and certainly not white. But beautiful they really are. And here, number 11, Arabesque and Flowers, a dual-faceted pattern that combines beauty and intricacy. So Arabesque is a pattern used in the wall decoration of Islamic mosques. It's sometimes called Arabesque design or Arabian pattern. Its most distinctive feature is its beautiful geometric pattern. Figures of plants, animals, etc. are repeated symmetrically. Arabesque has great artistic value, but it also has great mathematical value. In other words, Arabesque has two aspects. One is artistic, the other is mathematical. And here we have this Arabesque. And you can see here we do have flowers and plants in this pattern, but we also have a lot of geometric figures, like the square here. And then we have swirls. So can't wait to color this one. It's really beautiful. And Dalia, also a favorite flower of mine, in the top 5, I actually think. Dalia, flowers that became popular with the revolution and represent the times. Okay, we're going to learn something. Again, I have a feeling. Dahlias were brought to Japan from the Netherlands during the Edo period, and the Edo period is from 1603 to 1867. They are also known by the Japanese name Chenjikubutan, peony, because of the way the flowers bloom. It resembles peonies. Dahlias have many flower meanings, but one of them has a negative meaning, fickleness or instability. This is thought to be because dahlias became popular during the unstable situation of the French Revolution, back in 1789, where they invented the guillotine and chopped the heads of a lot of people, especially nobles and priests from the Catholic Church, and also the royal family. Even though these flower meanings may seem trivial, they contain deep meanings. You can see we have a bond here. It says dignity and elegance. And then we have dahlias. And they are so beautiful to color. And it's nice to see that we have this round circle form, but it also is broken a little bit up here by the leaves and the flowers. So now for a very interesting flower I didn't know before I bought this book. Beauty Under the Moon, or Moonflower, the queen of the night with a beautiful momentary glow. Night blooming cereus is a flower that starts to bloom in the evening, reaches full bloom at night, and withers by morning. It's actually a type of cactus. The flower has a strong fragrance, so you can tell it's blooming just by the scent without even seeing it. Night blooming cereus is said to be a precious flower that only blooms once a year. However, this is a mistake, and in fact, if the growing environment is good, it can bloom more than twice a year. Recently, edible night blooming cereus has also become available, and you can enjoy its unique flavor. Oh, so you can actually eat these flowers in the edible version. Interesting. And here you can see there's added some a dark background here because it's a flower blooms at night. And then we have the moon and the stars and this. I actually think that I have seen it once on Crete on vacation many years ago when my children were small. They had a cactus and it only blooms once a year, and it actually bloomed on the days that we stayed there. It was up in the mountains, in a house up in the mountains. And outside they had this cactus with these flowers. It really looks like this, and it was also white and had a very strong fragrance. I wonder if it could have been such a moonflower. Well, Lily of the Valley and Yeruap's Daisy. And then it says a flower that is both cute and dangerous. Lily of the Valley is loved all over the world for its pretty little white flowers. So if you don't know this, Lily of the Valley is this one with the small flowers. It's also the national flower of Sweden, but in fact the flowers and roots of the lily of the valley are highly poisonous to the human body. Contrary to its neat and lovely appearance, lily of the valley is a dangerously poisonous flower. And we actually, in Danish forest, we have another plant that looks like lily of the valley, but that plant is not poisonous, and you can eat it. But we have had a couple of incidents in Denmark when people have taken the plant thinking it was the edible one, and then in reality it was this one, and they got very, very sick and almost died because they actually ate a lily of the valley and not the other plant. Also, Europe's daisies bloom yellow flowers similar to daisies from autumn to spring. The round, lumpy shape of the plant and the way it blooms in a serene atmosphere give it the flower language of harmonious relationship. So perhaps that's why this Europe's daisies is together with lily of the valley. So this is poisonous and this one is just harmonious. Number 15, Cosmos. Autumn blooming cherry blossoms have the flower language of harmony. As the name suggests, Cosmos is a flower known in Japan as a seasonal feature of autumn. So we actually in Denmark have this flower during summer, but in Japan it's in autumn. So why did they come to be written as autumn cherry blossoms and called Cosmos instead? It is said that this is because the shape of the flower and the way that cosmos flowers bloom all over the place resemble cherry blossoms. September 14th has also been designated as Cosmos Day. Cosmos is a relatively new flower to Japan, having been imported into Japan around 1887. But its beauty is still etched in the hearts of the Japanese people. And here we have the cosmos flowers themselves, and they do come in a great range of different colors, white and pink and light sort of lavender, lilac, white. So you have all opportunities to really color as you want here on this page. So beautiful. And then we have the butterflies here also. It's a very, very beautiful plant. And as I said, in Denmark, we have them. They bloom in the summer, but they actually can bloom as late as September and the beginning of October if it's not too cold. So, onwards to number 16. Cyclamen. I don't know how you pronounce it in English. But it says, a flower beloved by King Solomon that resembles a bonfire. Cyclamen has red flowers, but its characteristic spotted pattern and silvery leaves, known as platinum leaves in some varieties, further enhance the contrast of the flowers. Cyclamen is called Ragaphet in Hebrew, which means Solomon's crown. And now we have a myth here. When King Solomon was making his own crown, he asked all the flower fairies to be his crown, but they refused. When King Solomon was feeling down, it was the cyclamen that spoke to him, so King Solomon chose the cyclamen. So that is why these flowers were in his crown, or helped him make the crown, actually. Oh, now I actually know what kind of flower it is. I didn't recognize it for the name cyclamen. It's called something quite different. In Danish, it's called alpeviol. Oh, but I know this, and I love this flower. Oh, well, yeah. But, red flowers and silvery leaves, well, you can really, really go all in this drawing, I have to say. I can't wait to do this one with silvery leaves. Chamelia. Number 17. The name comes from the beauty of the leaves rather than the flowers. Well, the flowers are beautiful too, but let's hear the story before we look at the flowers. So camellias have different flower meanings depending on the color. Red flowers are said to mean humble virtue, and white flowers supreme loveliness. Camellia oil extracted from the seeds is used to keep the hair beautiful, and the timber is used in construction, making the flower an essential part of Japanese life. There are several theories about the origin of the name camellia. For example, one theory is that it is Atsuba tree because of its thick leaves, and another is Suyaki, glossy tree, because of its shiny leaves. Whatever the case may be, the interesting thing about this flower is that it was named after its leaves and not its flowers. So this is interesting because these leaves you can color very shiny, very glossy here. And then we have all of these flowers. I actually don't know the camellia flower that well, but this is certainly an opportunity to get to know it more. And now for a well-known flower, or berry, I should say, or fruit, or it's actually a nut. Strawberries, flowers, and bees. A fruit loved since the Heian period, but it's actually wrong because strawberries are not a fruit, it is actually a nut. Well, we don't have to argue about that. So it says, the history of strawberries in Japan is long, with wild strawberries being eaten since the Heian period. That is from the 794 to 1185 AD. Cultivated strawberries were imported to Japan at the end of the Edo period, and the Edo period was in 1603 to 1867, so that must be somewhere in the 1800s that these cultivated strawberries were imported to Japan. However, compared to the strawberries that Japanese people were used to eating, that was the wild strawberries, these cultivated strawberries, they were large, and Japanese people at the time were not very keen on eating them. They were, I think, too large. So the strawberries that were introduced to Japan became popular as ornamental foods. So look food, you can look at it, but you didn't eat it. That's interesting. It was only after the war that strawberries became commonly eaten. It doesn't say which war. I don't know if we are up in the 20th century with World War II or what. I don't know that. It's only in recent years that strawberries have become accessible to people. Well, I think it is the Second World War they mean here, because it says it's only in recent years that strawberries have become accessible to people. So it must be in recent times. So it would make sense that it was after World War II that people began eating the larger cultivated strawberries. But we love strawberries. I actually got some strawberry plants for Mother's Day from my children and my husband. So here we can see the strawberry flowers, the strawberries and bees. This is just such a lovely, lovely page here. You can color in bright colors. And then the last page, Christmas rose. The more you learn about this flower, the more you'll discover. Many people may imagine Christmas roses blooming in December because of their name. However, the variety that actually blooms in December is an early flowering variety called Nigeu, which generally blooms from February to April and from April to May in Tohoku and Hokkaido. Although the name has rose in it, it's not a member of the rose family. So the Christmas rose flower is not a rose, an actual rose. It is a member of the Ranunculaceae family. So that sounds more like the ranunculus family, actually. It's said that the name rose was given to it because it looks similar to a rose. A flower that is full of surprises, and that may be the greatest feature of Christmas roses. So more in a family with the ranunculus than the roses. But beautiful they really are. And they are, they can be white, but they can also, at least here in Denmark, we have some more purple variants of this Christmas rose. And you can buy them from, I think it's actually October, right about now. You can buy them, and then until February or March, you can get them in stores, and they bloom. And then we have the last page, just some information about what sort of coloring book and so on, but also about the illustrator, Oji Kaori. Oji Kaori is an illustrator, and after graduating from a vocational school specializing in animal nursing, she worked at a character goods store before becoming an illustrator. She is strongly attached to the powerful creatures that live in nature and draws from the creatures and plants and scenery she encounters while walking along the coast and while walking in the mountains. She won the Pentel Award in 2018, the Pentel General Catalog Cover Design Competition. So she is an awarded illustrator of this Oji Kaori. The first edition was from 2020, and the second print of the first edition was from 2022. So I do think that this one is from the second printing. And then we have the back side here. So this was the flip through of this mandala to calm your mind coloring book. So that was the end of this flip through video. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you will give this video a thumbs up. Liking my videos also really helps the channel. And if you're watching this video and you are not one of my subscribers, I hope that you will consider subscribing to my channel and participating in this coloring journey and the coloring community here on my channel CatColouring. I would also like to thank my channel member Marise Koy for being a part of my channel membership Early Access. So she will of course have access to this video before anyone else, and after 3 days it will be released to the rest of the channel. If you want to support me, you can donate on my Ko-fi page. You can also buy my coloring, swatch charts and color family charts on my Ko-fi shop, and you can consider becoming a channel member. So I hope that you will stay tuned, because in the very short future there will be a little video about my giveaway, because I have reached 1,000 subscribers, and in that video I will tell you how you can perhaps win some of the things I am giving away, and they are very good things, I might add, but more about that later. So if you want me to do a color along with one of the drawings here in this book, please write a comment down below or write me an email, and my email will be up on the screen now and also down in the description box. So until I see you in the next video, have a lovely day, take care of yourself, happy coloring, bye.